Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, a plane load of returning Australians will arrive from the United Kingdom on Sunday, as Tasmania offers a helping hand in the nationwide repatriation effort. But the acting Premier has told Parliament Tasmania will need to prepare for the likelihood of a COVID case when the flight touches down.
An empty chair marking the Premier's absence in Parliament. Peter Godwin missing this week's sittings after he was hospitalised yesterday. The Prime Minister, among many, wishing him well as he recovers at home.
A special shout out to Peter Godwin. I've been in contact over the last 24 hours and I hope he's well and recovering.
The PM also talking up Tasmania's rapid vaccine rollout.
They've got the highest double dose vaccination rate in the country. So they're getting on with it down there.
Back home, Labor leader Rebecca White gave her budget reply.
There was no mention last week of Tasmania's record debt, nor the fiscal deficits that will continue beyond the forward estimates.
The Greens will hand down their alternative budget tomorrow, today urging Jeremy Rockcliffe to offer up support to Afghan refugees fleeing the Taliban regime.
And we would impress upon the acting Premier to pick up the phone and call Scott Morrison and let him know that Tasmanians want to play our part in homing those fleeing people.
It comes as the acting Premier announced Tasmania will take a repatriation flight from the UK to free up hotel space interstate for refugees, but he has conceded that offer of support could come at a cost.
It is not without risk and we will need to be prepared for a potential case of COVID from this flight.
Public Health will closely monitor the plane load of 150 returning Australians when it arrives on Sunday. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian small businesses affected by COVID-19 will have access to further support from the state government, with a new grant program to open this Friday for micro businesses. It includes reducing the annual turnover figure requirement from $50,000 to $25,000 to help more businesses become eligible.
We've listened to concerns in the small business community. We've done as we've said we would do. We've acted swiftly and we've adjusted the criteria to assist small businesses.
Now, I think we'll see that most stallholders at Salamanca, which includes over 200 small businesses, will now be eligible.
Labor is calling on the government to spend some of its $300 million set aside in the budget for COVID measures on additional business support. Clarence councillors will be encouraged to declare whether they've been vaccinated. Supporters of Emotions say they have a role to help encourage people to get the COVID vaccine, but opponents believe they have a right to keep their medical decisions private.
A motion asking elected members to swap privacy for leadership.
That elected members of Clarence Council be encouraged to demonstrate community leadership by publicly declaring their COVID vaccination status and intentions.
The City of Clarence Council asked to consider putting on the record their COVID-19 vaccination progress. Alderman Moulder's motion passing 8 votes to 4, but not before a spirited debate.
I don't know whether Clarence City Aldermen are influencers, but I think it's a good statement.
It's all up to us as a council, say, dictating to any of its members or our citizens what they can and cannot do.
The man behind the motion says with vaccine hesitancy still an issue, community leaders have a duty to help push the need to get vaccinated.
Needs to get through to everyone else, and we as local government elected members have a responsibility to get that message out there.
But not everyone is convinced. Alderman Dean Ewington supports a rollout, but says individuals have a right to keep their medical decisions private.
And I have concerns about other people out there who are going to be faced with the same concern, and I think it's a very slippery slope to go down for us to be expected to make those sort of things public.
Clarence's mayor believes disclosure will show leadership on an issue causing debate in the community.
I think it's got much more weight with the community that people are standing up on a voluntary basis because they believe in it.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
An investigation into a fatal motorcycle crash in Launceston CBD last year has found the rider who was killed was unlicensed, drunk and driving dangerously. 29-year-old Rowan Jake Johnson was thrown from his bike after running a red light and colliding with a passing car at the intersection of Patterson and Wellington Streets. A coroner's report released today said the father of 4 regularly rode his bike in a reckless manner and was solely to blame for the crash. Australia Post has announced it will continue to deliver perishable goods after earlier this year casting doubt on the service's future. The Small Business Ombudsman has been working with producers and regulators to develop a long-term solution to ensure food safety requirements can be met. The news comes as a relief to Tasmanian food producers. Many feared they'd be unable to ship products directly to customers. Australia Post has apologised for the uncertainty caused. An iconic Derby property is sold for the jaw-dropping price of $1.3 million at auction. The run-down house was purchased in 2018 to host mountain biking royalty, the late owner's family making the tough decision to sell after his sudden death.
A bar, an old bathroom, broken walls and plenty of room in the backyard. Jeffrey Hayes bought this Derby property, jokingly known as the Crack House, 3 years ago to host a party for hundreds of people.
He said, "I'll call it the Crack House." I said, "That's not a very good name." He said, "Yes, it is." He said, "Because it's full of cracks." He said, "And the son, it's probably not worth doing up." He said, "So that's why I pulled all the walls out of it and called it the Crack House, ready for the party when the EWS people came."
But it turned out to be just as good an investment, fetching a record price at auction on the weekend.
Selling $1,310,000, going, sold.
The mainland buyer, a fan of Derby's trails, bid for the house while mountain biking near his New South Wales home.
We were expecting, high hundreds, didn't know whether we'd get over $1 million or not, but using the auction process, that's what's happened, and it's secured the area.
The new owners haven't decided what they're going to do with the property. Instead, they're asking locals to give them ideas of what they want. One thing's for sure, though, the name The Crack House is going to stay. The 2,500 square metre block with both residential and commercial potential.
Village zoning allows you a lot of latitude in what you can do, so you can do retail, commercial, you could even do light industrial, residential. Derby's probably the hottest property market in the state at the moment.
Experts suggesting this is just the beginning of the property boom in the North East region. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanians have paused today to think about the risks of drug usage, as well as remember those who have lost their lives on International Overdose Awareness Day. Community members have folded more than 10,000 paper cranes as a way of opening up conversation around drug use.
There is a hope for people that are struggling in the moment, and there is something, and sometimes the small act of folding a crane together can be enough to distract from other pressures and other things that are happening.
The most people who are at risk of accidental overdose are those who are taking pharmaceutical medications that have been prescribed by a doctor.
29 Tasmanians died as a result of an accidental overdose in 2019. Tasmania Zoo is celebrating a new arrival with the birth of a baby white-cheeked gibbon. The species is critically endangered, and the 2-week-old is one of only 20 in the country.
Unlucky for some, Friday the 13th brought a happy surprise for Tasmania Zoo. A baby white-cheeked gibbon.
It's incredibly exciting. So any birth that we have here is a big deal, but especially for our white-cheeked gibbons as they are critically endangered.
They don't even know if it's a girl or a boy. The keepers are still waiting for a peek, while the baby clings tightly to its mother for months. 2 weeks old and it's starting to mature.
It's grown a little bit more in size, it's getting a lot more vocal, and it's now getting darker and its features are more distinguished.
Gibbons originate from Vietnam. Less than 1,000 remain in the wild.
They're omnivores just like us, so a lot of fruit, vegetables, leafy greens in particular, but also a fair bit of protein, so seeds, nuts. One of their favourite is scrambled eggs.
Tasmania Zoo, one of only 6 facilities in Australasia to house them.
To usher in a new generation of those species, and just to show that we're invested and we're growing.
It's a huge achievement for our institution. It's something I'm very passionate about.
Owners hope improving weather and open borders in coming months will see tourists roll into the zoo. More than 100 species reside here. A new baby from any brings the public.
Many young new babies that we have at the moment. We have capybara and marmosets, wombats.
But for now, this funky gibbon is the star of the show. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, when an old friend reaches out, it can be quite a surprise. But marine researchers are stunned by the rediscovery of a long-nosed fur seal. The rare species is thought to live to only 19, but one particular male born on Matsika Island in 1996 has been sighted off the Gippsland coast. The seal was recognised by a distinctive marking on its right side rump. Researchers say the 25-year-old was in good physical condition and his discovery provides fundamental knowledge for conservation efforts.
Launceston has held on to its right to host Sunday's preliminary final at Windsor Park, despite concerns over the playing surface. Clarence objected to the ground's use, urging a shift to UTES Stadium, but the league is confident Windsor will be up to scratch. Player peril or just solid wet weather footy? Opinion is divided over whether Windsor Park is fit for this final.
If we keep getting rain, we would have some concerns.
Up to 20 millimetres of rain is forecast for Riverside on Friday. Then 3 NTFA games will take place on Saturday before the TSL has its turn on Sunday. Clarence requested a shift to UTES Stadium, claiming player safety is at risk, plus the league's reputation by not playing on what it considers to be a superior surface.
I think it's a little bit insulting to players not to have it that way.
If you were there at Windsor Park on Sunday, that was an extraordinary community event.
A TSL final has changed venue before. In 2009, AFL Tasmania gave North Hobart Oval the boot due to its muddy surface. The game moved to Bellerive, infuriating Devonport but benefiting Clarence. Such powers were curtailed in 2019 when clubs agreed to give the highest ranked team the right to host its finals, bar the grand final. Although AFL Tasmania can still step in if it deems player safety is in danger.
When you talk about safety, you're talking about things like big potholes, or exposed sprinkler systems, or a bit of fence that's broken, or that's where we get into safety. It doesn't talk about muddy grounds.
The helicopter treatment is unlikely to return, but AFL Tasmania and the West Tamar Council will inspect the ground again later in the week. As for Clarence, which is now training at Lauderdale because Blunston is being prepared for the cricket season, the soggy saga is extra motivation.
I'm hoping it might spur the players on.
Launceston was contacted for comment. Early reports suggest Afghanistan will be given the green light to play its scheduled test match in Hobart later this year. A Taliban spokesperson has told SBS the Afghan team will be able to play Australia in November along with other international teams. Cricket Australia says there is goodwill between it and the Afghan Cricket Board. The Taliban had banned cricket during its previous rule. Derwent enters the Hockey Premier League finals in hot form after demolishing Uni 6-3. The side will host OHA for direct passage into the grand final. Northwest Grads and Canterbury face off in the knockout match. Canterbury comes in having only managed a draw with Wooden Spooner Diamondbacks. In the women's, OHA is clear favourite to win the semi-final against Grads after a 5-1 belting when the two sides met last week. Derwent and Diamondbacks are playing off in the elimination final.
Good evening. 19 was the state's top today in Hobart, 14 across Launceston, Burnie and Devonport. Smithton and Strahan 15, 18 in Ouse and Lyowini 7. On the close-up shows a cloud band covering the state. Further out, a middle-level cloud band extends across Tasmania and the mainland states ahead of a cold front. North-west to westerly winds tomorrow, 30 knots about the west and south, swells up to 3 metres in the east and up to 1.5 metres in the north. A strong wind warning is current for eastern, southern and western coastal waters from St Helens Point to Stanley. Tomorrow's forecast now 18 across Hobart and Geeveston, Bothwell mostly sunny. In the north, partly cloudy about Launceston and Devonport, Cressy 16. Burnie tomorrow, partly cloudy, 17 across Strahan and Curry. And mostly sunny and 17 right across St Helens, Swansea and Orford. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast, Thursday, fine and warm with possible showers about the northwest. Friday, rain about the north and west. And Saturday, showers with southwesterly winds. Capital cities 26 and sunny in Adelaide tomorrow. Cairns showers easing and 33 in Alice Springs. And currently Hobart cloudy and 16, Launceston showers and 13, Devonport mostly cloudy and 13. That's all for weather tonight, Kim.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And that is all your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us. Good night.